Decided to make me a 2 by 72 sanding grinder. This is what I've been using. Made about 20 knives on it. It's been good to learn with. I think I'm done learning with it. Needed to do something that I can go a little bit faster with. So I've got this design going. Bought it from USA Knife. It's the no weld sander, but I happen to have a MIG welder and don't feel like drilling, so it's going to be a welded sander. It's not a bad design. I picked up the Stihl for it for the frame. It was $35 for the Stihl. Guy probably, if he had a chance to go in there and pick through the scrap rack, could just about pick up all the pieces that you need to make the parts. There really isn't a lot of metal involved in it. The plans were decent. I'll give a better review on those later. I know it sounds wacky. I'm gonna put a 5 horsepower motor on it because that's what I happen to have sitting around. That's one of the things that made me decide to go ahead and build it, because the metal was cheap and I had a motor already. So I'll keep you posted on how it goes. That's the tensioning arm. I'm going to put a tracking wheel in this area, tensioning spring down there. I went ahead and cut out also with my plasma cutter. I cut out a 3-in-1 swivel arm. I think it's going to go in the tool holder. Let's go over here. One of the tool holders. We'll slip in there. There we go. We'll slip in there, and then this will go on somewhere like that. In this position, you'll have a flat platen presented. You can tilt it out and get a small wheel, 2-3-inch wheel, or you can tilt it out on the bottom and it will present the 8 or 10-inch wheel, depending on, and you put those in depending on which spot or which wheel you pick, depends which of those holes you use. So you just rotate that around to present the grinding surface that you need to be using, either a platen, small wheel, or a larger wheel, without having to take everything apart. I think I'll probably be able to get it finished for $250, including all the wheels, pulleys, belt, metal, not counting the motor because I already had one.
This is my plasma welder, or plasma cutter and MIG welder that I use for metalworking. It's my little work area out behind the garage. 5 horsepower motor that I'm going to put on it. That big plate there is a motor mounting plate, and I built a base out of 1-inch square to support the motor and the sanding frame. That's the sanding frame. This side will have the rollers and the belt on it. This is the tensioning arm. The spring will be attached to the base and provide the tension to hold the belt tight against the rollers. Here's the motor mounting plate drilled out and tapped, ready for the motor to be bolted on. Some stills of the sander frame itself. Here's the tool rest with in the tool rest holder. Put different accessories in the tool rest area depending on what tasks and what kind of grinding I want to do. Here's the motor in position. It'll be belt driven, the 3-step pulley. Got the rollers on. This is going to be the tracking roller. It'll adjust how the belt tracks back and forth across the platen, so I can move the belt sideways in different positions by adjusting that knob, which changes the position of that tracking wheel. So I can move the belt right or left across the sanding surface to get it adjusted where I want it. There it is, ready for a belt, a sanding belt. Got the tensioner hooked up, tensioning spring, drive wheels, the flat platen I use for flat grinding and profiling. There's the tool rest holder and just basic look at the frame again. Cut that platen out of a hunk of square steel. Profiled it later in the pictures. There it goes. Cut off the excess. This one is going to be the hollow grind attachment, so I'm going to change those rollers to the hollow grinding wheel. That's the drive wheel. Four-inch drive wheel, spinning at 3,750 RPM when it's a 1-to-1 on the motor, and twice that when I'm at on the high speed, so about a little over 7,000 RPM, and half that when I'm on the low speed. So I got half speed, full speed, or 1-to-1, and then top speed, high speed. This is the belt tensioning device. Put the motor so that it will slide in slots, and then I tension it with this clamp so I can do a quick change on the step pulleys, release that, and I change the belt to the position I want, and then push the clamp back down. Ran power in through a light switch. Painted it a caterpillar yellow. And the tool rest and tool rest attachments are black. That's a Trizact 3M belt on there. It's a 240 grit belt. It's just I use that to do some finish polishing. Again, this is the tracking adjustment. I'll adjust the belt right or left across this platen here to get it in position that I want it to be in for the type of work I'm going to be doing. Another walk around of the machine after it's all finished. I've been actually using it before this, or showing off the motor. 5 horsepower. It's a monster. There's not much that's gonna get in the way of that thing and last long. A lot of people are running these with 2 to 3 horsepower motors, and they do well at those horsepowers. And that's probably what I would have put on if I didn't have this motor here, but I really like this motor. I had it on the shelf already. It has tons of power. Tons and tons of power. So even when I'm running at high speed, which would potentially bog down other motors when you start putting heavy loads on high speed, this motor just pulls through and just rips the metal straight off when you're doing big profile cuts and moving a lot of metal. you don't spend very much time. It just comes off quick. Alright, here we got the sander set up in the low speed position. Use this position for doing the wood composite handles, also for the, like brass bolsters and things like that. You can see that it's not going really fast enough to generate a huge amount of sparks or heat. It takes the wood and other soft materials off without burning, causing discoloration. We put over on the high speed position, holding the camera in one hand and change the belt there in about 10 seconds. So there's a nice quick changeover. This thing really screams. You can hear it moaning. And look at that go. That's about 7,200 surface feet per minute of belt going by. And that's like an 80 grit belt. Imagine when I'm using a 36 grit belt, it just destroys the destroys the metal. Metal can't even withstand it. It comes off really fast and smooth. It's nice. I love it. This is a 10-inch serrated rubber wheel that I got for doing hollow grinds.